chapter 9, which is all called as control and regulation. So actually, if you refer to the MPM report, MPM Sukatan, the syllabus, actually this chapter is quite long compared to other chapter, although it only contains 2 subtopics, 9.1 nervous system and also 9.2 hormone. But 9.1 nervous system is very long topic. You can see the outcome syllabus, there are total, I think is 10, more than 10 outcome that you need to learn, and then mostly outcome is that you never learned it before in SPM, just little bit that you already learned. Okay, so for today, we will learn about the nervous system first, which is the first topic of the this chapter. Okay, so before we learn about the nervous system, neuron tissue, still remember, right? Like you already learned in Sem 1, nerve cell, which is the neuron, is the very important component in the nervous system, right? Because if you still remember that cells is the basic organ, basic life unit, and then if the cell is combined together, we will form neuron, and then if all the tissue combined together, we will form nervous system. So neuron tissue is very important. So although it is not in the syllabus, in semester 2 it is not in your syllabus, but you should still remember about the neuron tissue, the structure of neuron tissue too, because if you don't know it, later I explain about the electrical impulse transmission, later you will confuse about that lah. What I am talking about. So before you learn about the nervous system, you should remember that you already learned in semester 1, which are neuron tissue 2. Okay, so this one is the basic structure, right? Basic diagram of the neuron cell. So if you still remember that, there are 3 main classes of the neuron tissue, which is first one is multipolar, bipolar, and unipolar. But normally that you mostly see is multipolar and also unipolar. Bipolar are very rare, and then that is not in our syllabus too, that you not learn in semester 1 too. But in semester 1 you already learn about multipolar and unipolar, right? Multipolar is the example is the motor neuron and also interneuron. So what are the difference between multipolar and dipolar? You see the cell body of the location. So normally multipolar polar neuron, the cell body is located at the end of the neuron cell. But for this unipolar, the cell body is located at the middle of the neuron. And then this unipolar is we call as sensory neuron. So you will see this lah. So normally in SPM, that you already learned is about the neuron tissue. You learn about sensory neuron, right? Sensory neuron, interneuron, and also efferent neuron. Efferent neuron, these 3 types of cell. So normally sensory neuron is one type of the example of the unipolar. Okay, so what are the difference between sensory neuron and efferent neuron? You see the cell body location. So normally the sensory neuron, the cell body location is at the middle one, at the middle part. But for the efferent neuron, your cell body location is at the end, at the end of the neuron tissue. And then another difference is the length of the axon, and also length of the dendrite. So if you still remember that dendrite is the nerve that receive the electrical impulse. So for sensory neuron, all these from skin until the cell body is we call as dendritic cell. So this part, all this part we call as dendritic, meaning that this is the part that the electrical impulse is received from the skin toward the cell body. So once afterward the cell body, it will become axon. So if you see the sensory neuron, the dendritic cell, dendritic length is more longer compared to motor neuron. So you will see the motor neuron, the dendritic cell is very short. because you see that the cell body is already located at the end of the neuron cell, right? So dendritic is more shorter, and then once that one afterward the cell body, all of these are we call as axon, because axon is receive the electrical impulse from cell body and then transmit the electrical impulse to another type of neural tissue through the synapse, or transmit the electrical impulse through the neuron, through the synapse to neuromuscular junction. So if through the synapse, this one, right, this one, so the location between the gap between the interneuron and also sensory neuron we call as synapse, right? This one you already learned in SPM. And then the location between the gap between the efferent neuron and also effector we known as neuromuscular junction. So these two structure, later we will learn more detail about the synapse and also neuromuscular junction. Okay, so this is the more detailed structure about the neuron tissue. So normally in neuron tissue you need to know about cell body lah, cell body, dendritic cell, and then also axon. So this is the example of the motor neuron, or we call as efferent neuron. Efferent neuron, that which is the at the end of the one end of the neuron cell is containing cell body, and another end of the neuron will be connected to the muscle tissue, and then the gap is we call as neuromuscular junction, that later you will learn it. Okay, so not only that, you will see that between the axon, you see that there are the cells we call as we call as SCAV1 cell, or another name you see we known as myelinated neuron tissue. So myelinated neuron tissue is, you see there are many SCAV1 cell bounded to the axon of the neuron tissue. So if this is the very important structure in terms of the transmission of electrical impulse. Later we will learn it, but okay. And then between the gap between the SCAV1 cell, we go known as the knot of Van Wert. Knot of Van Wert is the gap between the SCAV1 cell. So this is very important. And then for this one is not very important. But the most important is this line lah, that you need to know it. And then this is all about the explanation about the neural tissue. I think I don't need to explain much. Okay. This one is I need to mention lah. So normally the neuron axon is surrounded by the glia, we call as SCAV1 cell. So this SCAV1 cell is very important to form the layer of myelin sheet, what we call as myelinated neuron tissue. Okay, so normally this one is very important. I already explained for this one is myelin sheet normally is poor conductor, meaning that the electrical will not pass through, will not enter. Meaning that the electrical impulse will not enter inside the myelinated sheath. The electrical impulse will only pass through the part that does not contain the SCAV1 cell. So meaning that the electrical impulse will be transmitted, jump from one knot of Van Wert to another knot of Van Wert. Meaning that when the dendritic already receive signal and then go to cell body, after they reach the axon, since there are the myelin sheath at here, the electrical impulse will directly jump to knot of Van Wert, and then it will directly jump until it reach the terminal branch that already what we say as reach the neuromuscular junction lah. So this is very important feature, that it is one type of the characteristic of nerve impulse, that the nerve impulse is transmitted from one jump to the knot of Van Wert to each other. Okay. So So this is enable the fast conduction in vertebral axon. So the electrical impulse will be transmitted in very fast manner lah, compared to the unmyelinated cell. Okay. So and then I think that's all for the neuron tissue. Okay. And then for this another type of cell we call a glial cell. So normally glial cell actually is the cells that support the neuron tissue and play the role in insulating the axon of neuron and regulate the extracellular fluid surrounding the neuron. So you know that neuron actually is one type of tissue. So this tissue is also need to have the support. This tissue cannot move around one. You need to know that in our body system, or the body system, whatever kind of body system, you need to have a support. So nerve system, the supporting of the neuron tissue is we call glial cells. So you see this diagram. So actually there are many types of glial cell lah. So one type is we call an ependymal cell, astrocyte, oligodendrocyte, microglia, and also Schwann cells is also also the one type of the glial cell that provide the support and also insulating of result. Okay, so this one is not very important. You don't need to know each type of the cell. Most important is you need to know there are the presenting of this kind of cell inside the nervous system lah. Okay, so this is the explanation again. I already explained it. So yeah, okay.